Good morning and good afternoon again to everyone. This is Ramya Murali from Exxat. Thank you for joining us for M1M webinar part 2. In today's discussion, we would like to give you all an opportunity to ask questions, and we will be providing you the required resolution. We understand that the previous session had a lot of information for you to take in, and we would like to keep this session light, and we would like to answer your queries. For your kind attention, this session is only meant to answer questions related to traditional M1M and not exact one related queries. Helping me today on this webinar are two of my colleagues, Harsha and Ami. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. This webinar is recorded and you will receive a copy of the recording 2 hours after the webinar is completed. You will also be able to find the recording on our Exxat YouTube channel. Please use the questions section to ask questions or comment throughout the session. We will be manning the questions and addressing them as we go by. And if you are having any technical difficulties, please use the chat box and we will help you with that. And during the course of this webinar, we will be using the combination of live system, and if required, we will also show up some slides as and when needed. So, Ami or Harsha?
Yes, we do have one question, Ramya. Can you walk us through the basic M1M process of sending the slot request out? Just a quick overview.
Sure, yeah. That aligns with the intent for today. Thanks for that question. So today, what we can do is like we will quickly show you the basic steps, like what you need to do to prepare, and then how to configure the slot request, and how you will send the emails, and how you can manage the response. So we can just quickly go over these 4 basic steps so that you are ready to do the slot request on March 1st. Right? So let's quickly jump into preparing. So the most important steps, as we received multiple questions from you all, we just consolidated and we wanted to give you this understanding. The first step before we even get started with all these is to create the courses, the course offerings, and then the rotations for each of the course offering. That's one of the major prerequisite which you might have to do. Otherwise, the particular rotation will not show up in the slot request configuration and you will not be able to see them. So this is one of the most important step to do. And then the next step is you need to make sure each site, when we say each site, it is the parent network or the hospital system, has one associated location. So if there is no associated location to that site, then that particular site will not pull up in the slot request. Then the next step is to make sure you ensure that there is at least one recipient listed for each location. So if there are no recipients added, then obviously you will not be able to send out the slot request to them. And then the 4th main step is to make sure you send out that whitelist letter that we talked about in our previous webinar, so that they are able to receive that note and they make sure that the IP addresses are unblocked. So let's go over each one of this in the system. So I'm just going to quickly switch into the system and we are going to talk about that. So in order to create a course or course offering, you always go into the courses tab. Make sure you've created all these course offering, right? So you just click on add course offering, choose the cohort, term, academic year, and if you know the professional year, pick that and choose the course and click on save. So this is going to create your course offering like this. So this is one of the major prerequisite. So once you create the course offering, it doesn't stop here. You would still have to go into the course offering. Click on the placements tab. I'm in the course offering. Click on the placements. It opens up like this. You can see that it says no rotations are set up. Make sure to go to the rotation setup Click on add rotation, given the title for the rotation, put the start date and end date, put the minimum required weeks, choose the course that's associated with this rotation, and then the advanced parameters, if at all you need to configure any of these. Like if you want to set up an advanced schedule, or if you wanted to make this particular rotation show on the right site resources page, or if you want the students to know who are the other students placed at this rotation, and if you want to award any credit hours, right? These are all advanced configuration, but the prerequisite is to at least have a title, put the start date, end date, and the minimum hours, and then associate a course with that. Now, once you have done that, just going back to the presentation, you are done with the first prerequisite. You've created your course offering, and rotation. Now the next step is to make sure each site has a location, right? To do that, I'm going back to the system. Click on the Sites tab. And then go to the reports. Now under reports, make sure you go into the location details, the site details report. And then just scroll to the right. And then see if there are any site for which this location count that you see here is 0. That means that that particular site does not have a location associated. So you can see this, right? So it has 0. That means there is no location. So make sure to click on it and then add a location. Click on add location. So just want to repeat this. Please go to the reports tab. Click on the site details report and then scroll towards the end and then make sure each site has a location to it. Okay. Then going back, the next prerequisite is to ensure each recipient, there is at least one recipient added to every single location. To check that, make sure to go to the same reports tab, but this time you will click on the location details. I just clicked on the location details. Scroll towards the right and you will see there is an associated personnel section. Here you can see this, and if this count shows up as 0, that means there are no personnel associated with that location, so that you make sure that you associate a personnel by clicking on it. Okay, like click on associate person, and then if they are already in the list, they'll show up here. You choose that person, provide their designation and setting, and then make sure to turn this bit to yes, where it says include in slot request. It is only when you turn this bit to yes, this person will be showing up in the slot request distribution list. Okay, so these are the two major prerequisites that we had covered. And then the last one is the mailing preference, which is what we just talked about. So for every person, right, we need to make sure that the slot request bit is set to yes. Otherwise, they'll not be receiving the slot request. Again, if you need a report for that, I will go back to the system. It's again the same location, sites, reports tab, and then you will click on the personnel location details report this time, and then make sure, obviously they all need to have an email address, and then just scroll to the end and make sure this bit to set is set to yes. If they are set to no, that means that this person is not going to receive the slot request email. And you can use this as a way to mark a person not to receive the slot request, because there could be scenarios where you don't want to send out the slot request to a particular person, right? In that case, you use this bit efficiently to mark this as no so that they don't receive the slot request, right? So that covers the prerequisite, and the slides are showing you the same set of details. So the first report is the site details report. Then the second report is the location details report. And then the third report is the personal location details report. Now, the last one is talking about the whitelist communication. So in the help center, if you go and type in whitelist communication, you will see this. Make sure you send this note to your site contacts so that they are unblocking these IP addresses so that the slot request is delivered. So any questions here, Ami?
Yeah, there are a couple of questions. In V3, there was a way to schedule the first come first slot. Is there a similar way that we can do in Prism as well?
So you
So
want to
Ramya, if we can show the ability to publish the slots um, directly to the students from the slot section, that could help.
So the first thing is you go under placements. You click on
Yeah.
any placement group. Yeah. So as soon as the slots are added, so this is where you will go in the list view and then select all the slots that you want to publish, right? And then just click on the publish button. So most of these slots are published already. That's why you just see an unpublished button, but you just have to click on this and then there is going to be a publish slot option and then you will be able to publish these slots to the students. Does that answer your question? And we will be talking more about the FCFS slots in the next webinar that's planned for March 5th. But this webinar, we are just trying to make sure like you're prepared for your M1M slot requests.
Thank you, Ramya.
There's one more follow-up question on that. Why do you publish lot versus wish list, right? So once you get these slots, FCFS, if you don't want to, open a formal wish list, give the students a week's time or so, quickly ask them to, if they are interested or not, right? If you want to quickly collect those details, then publish slot is one way to do that. And definitely you have a wish list option as well, but wish list is more like you want to give students a time so that they can do the research and they can rank their preferences, right? So that's more of a time consuming or more detailed approach. But if there are certain slots which are FCFS kind of right, and as you receive, you directly want to share with the students and then get their preferences. I mean, in simple terms, are they interested or not, instead of ranking and all, then published lot can be used in those scenarios.
Thanks, Harsha.
Okay, Ramya, there are a few other questions as well on the scheduled emails. There are questions around um, once you schedule an email, what sort of changes we can make and what sort of changes are not, enabled. So I'll take this one up. So once you schedule the emails, if there is anything related to the rotation or this main setup, right? In the first column you see, can you go back, Ramya? In the first, click on the setup, right? Edit pencil icon. So any changes, if you want to make it, you can make it here. Even if the emails are scheduled or if not scheduled, so these will reflect. Let's say if you want to add or change the rotations, or if you want to change the slot type setting, any notification preferences or welcome note and all, these all can be done. Even if you have scheduled the email or if you haven't scheduled the email, these things will be picked up. Now, once emails are scheduled, if you can go back to the previous screen, Ramya, the send email part, those changes will not be able to do. Let's say if you want to change the recipients or if you want to edit the email template, right? So you'll not be able to do that, right? So what we recommend is, if let's say if there are changes you want to do to the email template or anything with recipients and all, you can cancel the scheduled emails. There is a cancel option as well, right? If you really need to make those changes, then we recommend you to cancel those scheduled emails. Select all the ones which are scheduled, and then click on that cross mark at the top. Then you can cancel, and then you can make those changes and reschedule those emails. That option is available.
Thanks. So just to summarize what Harsha said, if you have already scheduled all those emails, anything related to the configuration can be changed, but anything related to the recipients or to the email template uh, cannot be changed at that point of time. Yep. So let's move back. So we are done with the preparations. Now we are going to see how we can configure the slot request, and then how you can send emails and how you can view the responses. So we will just quickly jump back into the system. Now, in order for you to set up a simple slot request, all you need to do is just click on Set up New Communication, provide a title. Make sure to include these two activities. This is one of the important one. Make sure to turn on this activity, and then make sure if as part of the slot request that you're going to send out on March 1st, you would want your sites to update their information as well, then you set this to yes. But if you have already sent out the update location information and you've gotten enough responses and you don't want the sites to work on all this part during the M1M, then set this to no. Okay, and then click on next. Now here is where you will come in, and it'll be really helpful if you all have any questions, please feel free to ask here. The most important thing is to choose the rotation. I wanted to call this out. If you have created your course offerings, but if you have not created a rotation associated with that, then the particular rotation will not show up. So all we are picking here is the rotation and not the specific course offering. So we want to make sure that please make sure you create the rotation so that they show up here. You can choose all calendar years, or you can pick one calendar year at a time and select all the particular course offerings. Sorry, not the course offerings, all the rotations. And then click on save. That's how you choose the rotations. And once you have done that, you can add instruction for every single for the every single rotation that is shown here, so that whenever the site is trying to offer a slot, they'll be able to see all these instructions. You can delete the rotation if at all, if you have added them accidentally. And then you can choose to decide what are the settings that needs to show up on the slot request link. So if you don't want your sites to offer any acute care slots, right, just remove this so that it doesn't show up on the slot request link. Same way, you can choose what are the slot types that they can pick in the slot request link. If you want them to provide only FCFS slots, right, the first come first serve slot, just choose this, and then they'll be able to see only this as an option, and they can just offer the FCFS slots. Or you can choose multiple options so that they'll have the ability to pick and choose from here. And similarly, you can choose the supervision type, one student to one CI or one student to two CIs. So you can choose to decide on that. And then the auto notifications. So as soon as the site or the location adds a slot, if you want an automated acknowledgement to go back to them, please set this to yes. And if you want, let's say if the site picks an option as contact me later and they put a date, let's say March 15th, right? And if you want this system to automatically send the slot request on March 15th, then set this to yes, so that an automated email goes out from the system on March 15th requesting them to add a slot, right? And then,
Ramya, before
yes.
you jump to another section, we have a question. What do you mean by must be filled or slots that we have?
Yeah. So must be filled is a type of slot where the site is giving you a slot and it requires you to fill up a student there. So they are offering you a definite slot and then it needs, I mean, you should not be ignoring them. Sometimes we have seen schools like they receive 10 slots from a location, but out of those 10 slots, they use only 5 slots and then probably they send a cancellation notification to the site telling them back that we are not going to use these 5 spots, right? So there have been some feedbacks from other programs telling us to include a must be filled slot so that whenever a site indicates a slot to be must be filled, then you need to make sure you assign a student to it. Yeah.
And also, is there an option to just select a regular slot option, like without having like a must be filled or FCFS?
Yeah. So if you don't, I mean, if they don't pick anything on the slot type, right? So whenever the site is trying to offer a slot, if they don't pick anything under the slot type, by default, it will be defaulted to regular.
Okay.
And this slot type is completely customizable based on the school needs. And they also have the flexibility to choose what options they want to show it to the site personnel as well. So regular is by default, as Ramya was mentioning. If nothing is added there, so it just says as regular. But the most prominent ones being FCFS, intro required, or resume required. But the schools can customize based on their needs. If they don't want to have certain fields, they can request the exact support. Those can be taken off, or if they want to rename certain things, they can also do that.
Yeah. So if you would like to rename some of them, you can also let us know. We can rename them, right? If you want to add your own list of options, we can even do that.
Um, and there's a follow-up question. If a slot is offered as a must be filled, is there a way to ensure that the student is placed using the auto placement?
So that's a good question. I would have to talk to my auto placement team and get back to you. We used to cater to that in our algorithm, but right now the front end that you have, right, the placement assist, that feature that you have from the front end probably may not include that feature, but I can circle back with you. So, Ami, if you can get their email address, right, I can get it confirmed and send them a note.
Sure.
So moving back to the other sections, if you want the site personnel to add a slot at the site level, let's say if for a particular site, right, there are multiple locations, but if the site does not, I mean, the site coordinator does not know which location that they are going to offer the slot for, but they still want to communicate that they can take 4 or 5 students, right? And if you want them to add slots without picking a location, then you set this to yes so that they have that capability, right? And then, so these are all the school contacts, mostly like if these are all the faculty from your program or the coordinators or administrators from your program whose contact information needs to show up on those slot confirmation emails, right? So if you want those to show up, just I mean, the list shows up here and you can choose the bits here to say receive slot confirmation email, meaning that these are the 2 people who are going to receive the slot confirmation email. So let's say the slot request email goes out to one of your site, right? And then they add 2 slots for rotation 1, rotation 2, and then they click on submit. Now, the moment they click on submit, if you have set this slot confirmation to yes, an email acknowledgement is going to go out to the site coordinator or the SECE at that site. And then if you have set this bit to yes, and a confirmation email is going to come to these 2 school faculties as well, right? And then if you set this to yes, then their contact information will start to show up on the slot request link. Any questions on this?
There's a question. How do I add a faculty member to the list of school contacts?
Over here, right? So from here, you just click here to go to the faculty and staff section. So this is basically the list of faculties or school staffs that you have already added in the system. And this is where you see all of them. Now from here, you will click on that particular person name, this bit where it says share on site resources. If you set this to yes, that means they'll be showing up on that particular email communication section. All right. So if you set this to yes, then if you go back to that configuration, that person will start showing up in this list, and then you can mark all these bits for them. All right. Then if you want to add any instructions that needs to show up, just use this plus button and add the instructions. Now, once I'm done with this, I'm just going to click on save. That is going to create my slot request. So this is how your configuration is created. Let's quickly move back to the slides. Yep. So just talking about what options we have. And obviously this session is not meant for exact one. We talked about the configuration, how you add the activities to the configuration, how you add the rotations, then how you set up the slot types and then the settings and then the auto notifications. You can in fact configure the email templates associated with those auto notifications if you would like to. And then obviously you choose your contacts and mark them to receive the slot confirmation and make them to be the contact person to the site. And you can add instructions. Click on save. That creates your slot request. So now we are done with the configuration. Now we are going to see how we can send out those emails.
Ramya,
Yeah.
before jumping to that, there are a couple of questions and confusion around the whitelist letter. So if you can just reiterate to everyone, what is the purpose of doing this
Got it.
and
Sure.
how it.
Yes. Okay. So when you go into the help center and just type in for whitelist communication from Exxat, now what you need to do is there is this template that's provided. So what really happens is you would have sent out the update location information by now, and then some of the emails would have bounced. One reason could be the email address is incorrect. So you might be fixing that, and then the emails are going to go through. But the other reason could be like there is a firewall at their network that is blocking the email that has gone out of Exxat, right? So all the emails that are going to go out for the slot request or the update location is going to go from notification@exxat.com or with the id.exxat.com, right? So if the network at the sites, right, is blocking our emails, then they'll not be able to receive the slot request. So that's one of the biggest challenge some of you would be facing. So in order to prevent that, let's say if the email has bounced for the reason of firewall, then you send out these 3 IP addresses to the site IT contact or to the site contact person, to the SECE at the site, and then they can share these IP addresses to their IT contact so that they can be unblocked and they can continue to receive the email that is going to come for their slot request. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that helps. Thank you, Ramya.
All right. Now we are going to move on to the next step. So far we saw the prerequisite, we configured the slot request. Now we are going to send it out and collect the site response, right? Jumping directly into the system. So we are here on the sites. and then we are going to click on emails. Now this time, in order for you to send out the emails, you will just click on send emails. So if you have configured it for the first time, right, all these will be grayed out because you've not yet configured or you've not yet scheduled your emails. So I'm going to click on send emails. So in this page, you have a lot of option to filter. You have a filter to filter by location, designation. Some of you would want to send out the emails only to the SEC, so you can filter by that designation. And then there is also advanced filters here, so you can click on that. And then there are other options as well by location categories, tags, state, site statuses, location statuses, right? So you have all these options. And you also have something by email sent. Let's say you've already sent and scheduled the emails are delivered. But for some reason, for some of them, if it did not go, you can filter out by no, and then just get those recipients and resend the emails from here. So that's an option that you have. And then based on the request response, if the sites have offered the slots, you don't have to worry about them. But if the sites have not offered the slots, right, or there is no response from them yet, you can choose these two options and resend it. So all these, so these two sections, the email sent and request response, you can use it at a time where you're not receiving a response from them or not. But right now we are at a stage where we are going to send out the slot request first time. So we are here, you choose your recipients. So you can just do a select all here. Right now I just have 38 records, but in your case you might have hundreds of locations, right? So if you have that, you will see a note here which will say select all 100 locations. So just click on that. Right now I'm not able to show that to you, but in your screen it will show up as select 100 locations. So you can do that, select all 100 locations to select all of them at one go. Now once you have done that, just click on next, and then you are allowed to compose the email. Now, the most important thing is, so let me just go back a bit. I'll just choose only one person so that I can show the sample template to you. I'm just choosing the abandoned health sites and then clicking on next. Then click on compose email. Now, if you want to override it with your email ID so that you want to test it out, right? You can always do that by overriding. And then if you want to copy someone blank, do the BCC, you can always do that. And if you want to upload a paper copy, like the Word document or something like that, if you have that, you can upload it here. And then the next step is to configure the email template. Now, by default, we give you some standard templates, right? But if you want to create your own template, just click on Add Template, provide a name, subject, and a body, right? And then make sure when you're adding the content here, juice @ so that all the tags that are available will show up, and make sure to include the slot request link. So without this, they'll not be able to click on a link and offer the slot. So this is one of the important tag to be included in your slot request emails. But if you're going to use the standard one, I'm right now I'm choosing the standard one. It'll show up here like this. Just click on preview. Now you have the ability to send an email now or schedule it for a later period of time. So you put in a, so obviously you all would want to do it on March 1st. So you put in a March 1st date here. Okay. And then click on schedule. Any questions at this point of time?
I'm just reading through them.
Sure.
I see hand raises by few people. If you, it would be helpful to us if you can add your questions to the chat and we can take that up.
Or-
Um, Also, there was one question that so they would like to know if they what would be the best way for them to track if all the personals have received the slot request email or not.
So the email dashboard is the easiest way to track that. So here is where you get the summary of everything, right? So far it is going to show here, these are the recipients who have received the slot request. Right now I've scheduled it for March 1st. So that's why it's showing me the status as scheduled. Now, if they have clicked the link, it'll show as link clicked. Or if they are bounced, it is going to show the status as bounced. Or if there is no response, it's going to show all those. So this is where you will track the status of the email delivery. So email dashboard is where you will come in to view all those details, right? So moving back to the slides to see this, whatever we have discussed, how to send it out. So you will click on send emails. Then you are here in the screen, choose your filters. You can do a select all, and this is the one that I was calling out. Select all locations. Then click on next. You can apply any filters. And obviously there is another thing where it says once you have made the selection, you had the ability to view the list of personnel who are going to receive those slot requests. You can just click on this to see that list of people who are receiving it. That's another way to see the list of recipients who are going to get this slot request. And then click on save and next. Compose the email. Configure your templates. And then either send it right now or schedule it for a later period of time. Okay. Now, we've scheduled the emails. We just saw that. Now I'm going to go to the email dashboard. So for some reason, right, you've scheduled it, but you don't want to, you want to cancel it. Let's say this is not the right person, right? Like you send it accidentally and you want to cancel this, select this person and just click on this cancel button so that that particular email will be canceled out. And then the status will show up as canceled. Okay. So let's quickly go and refresh this back and come to it. You can see that the status has changed to cancelled. Okay, so this is how you can manage the emails that you have already scheduled for a later period of time. Yep. So that's what it shows up. So you go under email dashboard, select the persons for which you want to cancel it, and then click on cancel. Yep. Any questions?
Harsha, are you seeing any questions that we can take up?
I think there's one question on the template again. So if we have scheduled the emails again, if the scheduled emails do not pick up if any changes are done to the template, right? Whatever new emails you're gonna schedule or send post that change, those will pick whatever updates have been made to the template. So we recommend, do all the reviews of the template upfront, send a mock email to yourself, sample email to yourself and see how it is coming up and do all the necessary changes. Then only you schedule the email, right? Because once we have scheduled the email, it's like everything has been set up and emails are just ready to go at that point in time. So changes to the template will not be reflecting in the scheduled emails. Any new emails or anything that those will pick it up. But let's say for some reason you have scheduled and you have to change it now, there is no way. Then what Ramya has explained earlier, you can cancel the schedule once, do those changes, and you can do that. But it's better to do all these reviews upfront than changing after you schedule the events.
So if you have accidentally scheduled the emails, but if you want to make any changes to it after scheduling, it is better to go to that dashboard, cancel out all the emails, and then once you have canceled it, make the changes and reschedule them. That's the best way to go about with this. Yep. So now let's see how the site can offer the slots, right? So that's the next step.
Ramya, just I see a hand raised by Elizabeth. Um, um, I am giving you permissions to be unmuted. If you have any questions, just let us know. Oh, okay. I think that was by mistake. We can go ahead, Ramya. Sorry.
All right. Okay, if there are no more questions. So what I did right now was I have sent a sample slot request email to my email address. So I'll quickly open up my inbox. Please excuse me for a lot of emails here. Yeah. So this is how the slot request emails are going to go out. So it has gone out to the site. So I'm just going to open this out in an incognito window. Now, as soon as the site or the site coordinator or the SCCE receives this email, they just have to click on the link in this email, just like how I did, and then they can offer the slots. That's it. So they just have to click on start here. Now they'll see all the rotations that you have added here, and then they just can click on this edit pen, and then they'll be able to add the slots. So the slots are already offered here. That's why you're seeing an edit pen. Usually it doesn't show up like this. So they just have to click on this plus button and then they'll be able to add a slot. So for example, here it shows all the clinical experiences, right? And then they can choose the setting. And in fact, they can associate an instructor to it and then say the slot type. Now here is where if they don't choose any slot type, by default, it will be marked as regular. And then they just can click on save. That's how they can add the availability. Now, as they scroll down, the most important one is here. So let's say they do not know to which location they are going to offer the slot. So this is a location here. But if they do not know what is the location yet and still want to offer a slot, then they can just click on add availability in this pink section where it says location not known, and they can still tag a instructor, setting, slot type, supervision type, and still provide those numbers here, right? Now, once they have done all this, they can click on next. So at this step, if you have also enabled that update location information, they will see one more section here where it says update location information. But right now I have just configured slot request. So that's why it just shows offer availability and review and submit, right? This shows the summary of all the slots added, and then they can go ahead and click on submit. Now, once they have submitted this, they can always click on the link back to make any edits to the responses. So they can still come back to this link again, change this from 3 to 4 if they want to, or change the setting if they want to, right? So all those are doable. Like for example, I changed it here from home health to neuro, and I can even update the dates if I want to, and I can also make any changes that I want to do here. Yeah. Any questions on this? So that's how a site or the location or the SCCE at the location can offer a slot. Okay, moving back to the slides. So this is how the site will receive a email with the link. They click on it, click on start, and then they'll be able to see all the locations they are associated with. And they can also have the ability to add a slot where they don't want to tag a location to it. They pick add availability and start adding the slots. So there are other options as well, where if they don't want to add an availability and they want to mention contact later, right? They can choose that as an option and then put in a date there and click on submit. And then click on next. And then they are about to review the information and then hit on submit. So this is how they will provide their responses. Yeah. Any questions?
I am not seeing any another questions. Oh, yeah. There is a question. Do you have a document with guidelines for site on how to add a slot request that they can send? Yeah, I can share that link with everyone so that we do have a help center resource built out for that. So I'll just share it via the chat.
Yep. So we do have an help center document, and even today, if you go to the help center, so let me just quickly go to the system and I'll show it to you. So if you click on this help section, it is going to take you to the help center. Just type in help for sites related to slot request and you will be able to get that document.
It is accessing the slot request.
So it's probably typed with the title accessing the slot request. Yeah, should come up somewhere.
I can share that link, Ramya.
All right. Okay, so moving back, so we have so far we have covered the prerequisite, how to send out the slot, how to configure the slot request, how you can send or schedule emails, and then how the site can offer the slot. Now, the next step is just excuse me. So we will move to those slides in a bit. Yeah. Now, the last thing is how you can view the responses, right? So once you start receiving the responses from the site, I'm just switching back to the system. So once you are here, as soon as you start receiving those slots, you will click on the response report here. Now this is where you get to see all the responses. Now this is the tile that you will choose for slot request related responses. If you had already sent out the update location information, you would have gone into the update location information to view the response. But today we will cover the slot request related responses. Now here is where you see that this particular site has offered a slot, right? So Mercy Central has offered a slot, so you can click on view slots to see what are the slots that they have offered, right? Now, if there is no response from the site, you will see the status here as no response. Okay. So those are the, or if they had sent, provided a response as contact later, then you will see the response here as contact later and what date to be contacted later, right? Now let's say a site sends you back the paper copy of the form, and then you have added the slots in the system on behalf of the site, right? Now in the system, you have added the slots and it is going to show up here like this. So for abundant action therapy, I have gone to this site and I have manually added the slots. So that's why it says slots offered, but with an additional status as updated by school. And because I am the school administrator, so it shows my name here. So that's how this report is complete, where it is showing you all the slots. So in the last year, all you would be seeing is no response or contact later or slots offered through the slot request link. But this year we have recently introduced a concept where if you have manually added the slots on behalf of the site, it is going to show the status like this. Any questions here?
I'm not seeing any questions, Ramya.
Right. Yep.
Ramya, we can also explain them about if they want to send follow-up emails after let's say after a couple of weeks or so, based on the response status, they can go to the send email section again, and then just filter out based on the response, right? If you go to the filter, there would be an option response status, and then one more, whether email has been sent earlier or not. Based on these two, they can select either it could be contact later or no response, and then you can just follow up with them again.
So once you have started receiving it and you're seeing this as the status in your response report, you come back to the send emails here, click on it. And then as Harsha mentioned, you will use these filters here. Click on request response and then choose no response or contact later, and then apply the filter here. And then just click on save and next and schedule those emails as well. Just like how you did your slot request, this time you are applying an extra filter to see which are the sites which have not responded so far, and you get that list and then resend these emails. Yep. Moving back to the slides. So this is what we are covering as part of the slides as well. So you go to the email dashboard, you see different statuses: scheduled, delivered, link clicked, in progress. So you can see multiple statuses here. So delivered means it is delivered. I mean, the recipient has received it. Link clicked means they have clicked on the link, and in progress means they have started offering the slots. And you can click on this particular subject to see the actual email that got sent. And if for some reason somebody is saying that, oh, I did not receive it, you can copy this, just the link, and send it out to them so that they can click on the link and fill the responses as well. And obviously you have the ability to resend as well. So that's what you see as part of the email dashboard report. And in the response report, you will click on the response report, and then you get to see the details. If this is update location information related response report, but today we just covered about the slot request related response. So you can see multiple statuses here. So contact later, no slots to offer, or slots offered, and then slots offered and updated by school. And you can also click on the action button that you see here and make changes to the responses. Let's say the school said there is no slot to offer, but you made a phone call to them and they said, contact me later, right? And then they give you a date. Then you can come here and update it as contact later and put a date here. So that's how you can update the responses as well. Yep. Any questions?
There are no further questions.
Perfect. So if there are no more questions, we just want to let you know there is an upcoming webinar. This is the last webinar on March 5th for M1M. It is more about the response management, and then how you can manage the first come first serve slots and all those. So we will be covering more in detail about all those as well. Um, so there is a registration link. So if you go into our website, you should be able to register it through that, or we will also share this link with you so that you can click on it to register for these webinars as well. Just one last time, wanted to check in with all of you if there are any questions. We have few more minutes and we can take them up.
Um, I don't see any questions so far.
Right. Thank you all so much for taking the time to learn about our product today. We just wanted to keep this session light so that if any of you are beginners, so this is the session to watch out for. So we have just covered the 4 basic steps to configure the slot request, how to send it, and how to manage the responses. Um, please take a minute to complete a short survey to help us improve our webinars. That'll give us the feedback, and we'll make sure we'll better our webinars in the coming series. Thank you all so much for your time, and have a great day.